Today I'm talking to you from the alley behind the house where I live. And I'm out here today because yesterday I was in the backyard tinkering like you do on your day off. And I noticed that there was a city inspector truck driving out here in the alley where I am. Oh, look at the puppies. The visit was from a city inspector named Dennis Havdi, Dennis Havdi, I think is his name. He informed me that he was responding to a complaint about high grass and weeds out here in the alley. Told him I would address that. There was a cleanout pipe added to the alley, and it's in a spot where the neighbors, these neighbors, use the alley a lot. They park vehicles like this one that you see behind me. And I'm concerned that it's going to get struck by one of these vehicles because they use it they're back here at night. And there's no light in this alleyway, which is fine with me. I prefer a dark sky. So I think maybe the water guy came out, checked it out, and said he may have posted about high grass and weeds. So we have a lot of this. This is all over the city. It's November. It's approaching winter time. I think a lot of people have stopped mowing, so they're just reluctant to go after these. I don't know what kind of grass this is. Is it Johnson grass that I mowed? It looks almost like hay. Anyway, it's really robust. It's difficult to dig out. It's really back-breaking work. I did some of it in the front yard. Now, more to the point, our city inspector guy, a guy by the name of Chris Randazzo, told me that because I complain about things that go on in the alley, like high grass and weeds, and things left in disrepair, like the vehicle behind me has 2 flat tires. So you can have junk vehicles on your property as long as they're behind the front fence line, whatever that is. So I guess the back door of your house. So from the back door of your house on back, anything goes, according to Mr. Randazzo. So maybe he told me that to stop me from calling him. And with that in mind, this back here shouldn't matter, right? Because it's past the back door. And this property, or this alley, shouldn't be my responsibility. Now, I don't know the specifics, but back when I worked for the city, I worked in public information. And I recall a lot of alleyway abandonment being passed by city council or plan commission, one of those 2 entities. And there used to be dumpsters back here. I just presumed that when the dumpsters went away, the alleys were all abandoned, because they abandoned miles and miles of alleys. This is 30 years ago, so I don't know the specifics. So I talked to Mr. Havdi, and he said he didn't know for sure. He's been with the city for 12 years, didn't know about the situation with abandoned alleys, which I think is probably a good thing to know if you're a code enforcement officer for a municipality. So maybe city staff, know your stuff, enforce the codes properly. In fact, I've been complaining about a number of properties around here that are in disrepair, and that can be seen, and that the status of their disrepair can be seen from the street. I'm talking about 2909 Summer, which is down the block from me, showing a lot of debris. If you drive over by it, you can see the house needs a paint job. Now, we don't have a homeowners association that would hold somebody to maintaining their property, but we have code enforcement that is good enough to come out here and write people up for high grass and weeds in the alley behind the house. 150, 125 feet off the back door, which, according to Chris Randazzo, is anything goes territory. Anyway, so there are a number of other high grass. In fact, I will show you an example. I didn't take a picture before I mowed or weed whacked these down, but the property next door has their grass and weeds in a condition similar to what I had going on back here. But once again, I figured we got wintertime coming, these things are going to die off. I can rake them up, pull them up at my leisure later on. Anyway, that wasn't the case. The guy, the city inspector, was ready to start writing me up for this. So, yes, if you're going to write people up, take care of the property that can be seen from the street. I've reached out to other city staff. Chris Randazzo has ignored my emails. I was checking my emails and I noticed the last time I wrote was July the 4th, 2020. It's now November 2021. I never heard back from him about 2909 Summer. City Councilman Andrea Bearfield is useless. Her big thing is she's opposed to gentrification in the neighborhoods, which is really our only line of defense against properties falling into terrible, terrible disrepair like the one I've mentioned at 2909 Summer. She's opposed to gentrification, but I'm saying bring it on, because with disrepair comes disregard for codes. They figure nobody's enforcing codes on this block. Let's let everything else go, right? But just to recap, gentrification is not our enemy. It's going to keep people on the ball with regard to maintaining their properties. It's going to keep people from letting junk vehicles languish in their backyards, even though anything goes, right? Chris Randazzo says, past the back door, anything goes. So you can let vehicles pile up in your backyard. Doesn't matter, right? You can let high grass and weeds take over. Doesn't matter, right? Well, not according to another state inspector. So you two guys need to figure out what the rules are and enforce them. Not do spot enforcement, which is a big problem all over town. I know business owners that get written up for their lack of enforcement or for their violations, and yet the neighbor down the road has no trouble with his violations that last for years. So if I have to clean up the grass and weeds in the alley behind the house where I live, let's get everybody else up to speed and in a timely manner. Let's not take years to do anything about it or do nothing about it. According to Dennis Havdi, he's been with the city for 12 years. Didn't know anything about whether this alley was abandoned. Didn't know whether this alley went all the way to the next cross street. 12 years. What were you doing? I get the feeling this is the first time he's left his desk in 12 years, quite honestly. Answer your emails, enforce the codes evenly across the board in every district in the city. Gentrification is not your enemy. It's our only line of defense against people piling up abandoned vehicles. I used to work for the city, so I know how things go in those offices. I know that right about now, it's about 9:45, they are figuring out what to have for lunch. And when they get back from lunch, most office personnel are figuring out where to go for dinner and drinks afterwards. Former city employee, I know what I'm talking about. Thanks for watching. I hope that I can post an update showing that everything has been handled, where I can sing the praises of the city staff in the town where I live. Until then, I'm going to be reminding them and you that there's work that needs to be done.